Hello my good friends. So in today's video I'm going to be explaining the specific provisions of the Electoral Act that seem to be detrimental to the upcoming 2027 elections. I will take my time to explain these provisions in a simple layman's language for everyone to understand, and at the end of this video, if you can stick to the end, I would also prefer a remedy, because if we continue in this manner, unfortunately the elections that we are expecting that will give birth to a new Nigeria will be said to be compromised or already truncated before its time. So there is need for us to understand the exact meaning of these provisions of the new Electoral Act. Now, this new Electoral Act of 2026, there is need for us to understand these provisions so that we will also appreciate what we need to do for a way forward, so that we are sure that the 2027 election will be free and fair as we expect. If you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly click the subscribe button and then you give us a thumbs up. We'll be right back. Now I'm going to start with section 63 of the Electoral Act, that is titled Rejection of Ballot Paper Without Official Mark. Now, the said section in subsection 1 provides that is displayed before you, as you can see, provides that subject to subsection 2, a ballot paper which does not bear official mark prescribed by the commissioner shall not be counted. Now, you remember they said this subsection 1 is subject to subsection 2, which means that the subsection 2 takes precedence over subsection 1. Now, what does subsection 2 provide? It provides that where the returning officer is satisfied that a ballot paper which does not bear the official mark was from a book of ballot papers which was furnished to the presiding officer of the polling unit in which the vote was cast for use at the election in question, he or she shall, notwithstanding the absence of the official mark, count that ballot paper. Now, what this means is that, yes, in subsection 1, it provides that the ballot paper that does not have official mark should not be counted, but they made this subsection under subsection 2, meaning that subsection 2 is more important. It takes precedence over subsection 1, and that subsection 2 gives discretion. That means the presiding officer on that day of voting has the discretion, he has the free will to decide which ballot paper to take or not, or which ballot paper to count or not, meaning that if that ballot paper that does not have the official mark of the INEC is presented to this said to the returning officer, and the returning officer is satisfied with it, notwithstanding anything contrary, that returning officer should count that ballot paper, and that ballot paper would be counted. This invariably means that once you are able to satisfy the returning officer on the day of the election, whether your ballot paper bears the official mark of INEC or not, that ballot paper will be counted. This is dangerous, considering the nature of the 2027 election that is going to determine the future of Nigerians. They are leaving it at the lap of returning officers. So the returning officers now have powers to decide which ballot paper to count or not, which makes this provision of the Electoral Act very detrimental to the 2027 election. Now we're going to look at the next provision, which is section 137 of the Electoral Act, which provides for persons entitled to present election petitions. I'll read it as I present it to you, so that you will be sure that I'm reading exactly what is in the act. Now, this said section provides that where the petitioner complains of the conduct of an electoral officer, a presiding or returning officer, it shall not be necessary to join such officer or persons, notwithstanding the nature of the complaint. The commission shall notwithstanding the nature of the complaint, and the commission shall in this instance be made a respondent and deemed to be defending the petition for itself and on behalf of its officers or such other persons. Now, in simple terms, this means that those returning officers, presiding officers, those people that are said to be representatives of INEC on the day of the election, that whatsoever they do on that day, that they are not that you cannot bring them to court. It is not necessary, it is not important to bring them to come and answer for their specific offense in court. It will now be INEC that will now represent them. And the law is that when there is a documentary evidence, there is need to call for oral testimony to be able to substantiate those documentary evidences. Now, if the people that are makers of the documents, that's the documentary evidence, if the people like the presiding officers, the returning officers, the people who made these documents, this documentary evidence now that you will be presenting to court, if they cannot be called to come and answer or give oral testimony, how can those evidences be proved? It means that everything goes in abeyance. You cannot prove whatever that you are presenting against them. That is the implication. This means that, in summary, this 137 immunes, covers or protects these INEC officials, the returning officers and the rest. It protects them from any form of legal or from any form of liability, which is dangerous considering the nature of the 2027 election. 138 sub 2, which is titled Grounds of Petition, provides that an act or omission which may be contrary to an instruction or directive of the commission or of an officer appointed for the purpose of the election, but which is not contrary to the provisions of this act, shall not of itself be a ground for questioning the election. This means that whatever these officers of INEC, both returning officers and the rest of them, whatever they do that is not contrary to the provisions of the act, but is contrary to their specific instructions by the commission, that's by INEC, that you cannot question those acts. This also immunizes whatever conduct that they carry out. So these provisions, as I have listed out and explained to you, does not just give the INEC officials, that's the returning officers and the rest, some certain kind of powers which they should not possess, but it also immunizes their actions. That means it makes them immune from coming to take liability, take responsibility for their actions. That is why there is need for this Electoral Act to be amended and these provisions repealed. There is need, as Nigerians, let us call on INEC to approach the the National Assembly, to approach the National Assembly to review this Electoral Act and repeal these provisions that would jeopardize the 2027 election. I hope you found this video helpful. I promise to always keep us updated concerning this 2027 election and explain both the court proceedings and the provisions of the law in very simple languages that we can understand, so that we can take the right steps. It's now time for us to call on INEC to approach the National Assembly so that these provisions will be repealed. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to click the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Thank you very much for having me, and enjoy the rest of your day.